Welcome to episode 237 of the Thunder Underground podcast. Trent and Jason here, as always. And this week, we've hit another milestone, I think.
Oh, well, I know we have.
I mean, a milestone for ourselves. 237 doesn't mean much. Beginning of November doesn't mean much, but a member of Typo Negative, the guitarist, Kenny Hickey, being on this podcast is pretty huge for both of us.
It is. We've loved this band since, I don't know, fucking the 9th grade or some shit.
Right.
Like, and not like fucking seriously loved. Like, they're one of the tops.
Yeah.
For both of us, I know.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk a little bit about that before we get in that interview. Play some music. But before we do, we need to let you know we're sponsored every week by MedFarm and DEB Concerts. MedFarm is a dispensary located in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma at 24683 East Highway 51. That's just about a quarter mile past Anita Road. East of there, off 51. Can't miss them. Get in there and check them out. They've got a huge selection. They've got a doctor on site every Friday and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Doctors at other times as well. Specials all the time. And one of the specials that is ongoing 100% of the time is if you tell them that you heard about them on Thunder Underground or mention our name, they'll give you 10% off your order. So a big thank you to them for that. You can follow them on Facebook at MedFarm. That's PHARM. Instagram is at MedFarmOK, and their website is medfarmok.com. And their slogan is Cannabis with a Cause, because 30% of their profits are going to help build no-kill animal shelters in Oklahoma. And I just saw, here just 2 or 3 days ago, a post on their Facebook where they said they have the land purchased and the building purchased. So now they're waiting for more funds from that 30% so they can build, furnish this building, and make it into a no-kill animal shelter. So
That's awesome.
They're getting close.
Good. That's great.
We've been talking about it for a while, so glad it's happening.
Yeah, it's a great cause. I mean, have you been to the city of Tulsa Animal Shelter?
Yeah, a long time ago.
It's one of the most depressing places you've ever seen in your life.
That's right.
I mean, not only are all the animals depressed, the place is shitty. It smells terrible. It looks terrible.
Yeah.
They got fucking whack ass kids in community service for their DUIs. When they're working, they don't give a fuck.
Right.
These poor dogs are smeared in shit and stuff. It sucks. And I know that this place won't be like that.
That's right. So a huge shout out to them for that. So, and as soon as more info's on that, we'll let you know, of course. So check out MedFarm in Broken Arrow. Also, DEB Concerts is a promoter right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They keep bringing in shows to downtown Tulsa. Everything from amazing stuff like Saxon, Lynch Mob, Warrant, Striper, Tom Kiefer, Sebastian Bach, a long-ass list. LA Guns, Junkyard. Bands, like Junkyard that we thought, are we ever going to get to see this band live? And we finally did, thanks to DEB Concerts.
That's right.
Something else they're doing is here just in a few weeks on November 23rd. Vixen is coming to the Ideal Ballroom with the Iron Maidens. Down for 5, right here out of Tulsa, is opening that show. They are a great band, as is both the other ones, so you need to get down there and check that out. The Iron Maidens are an all-female tribute to Iron Maiden. And Vixen, of course, if you know anything about 80s rock, you know Vixen.
Oh, yeah. You'll be living on the edge of a broken heart.
That's right. And if you're not there, you'll be crying.
Right?
Right.
So you don't cry. What you need to do is hit up the guys in Down for 5, and they've got tickets. Get them from them. That's the best place to do it.
Yeah. It helps them out, and you save a few bucks.
Exactly.
Because you don't have service fees.
Yeah, just look them up on social media, get in touch with them, and they'll get you some tickets.
That's right. Eddie Trunk will be hosting this show, as he does all the DEB concert shows at Ideal Ballroom.
Of course.
So get down there, check that out. And another thing, if you're listening to this and you have a band, DEB Concerts sponsors a stage out at Rocklahoma, the D&B Processing Stage, which books, last year they had Beasto Blanco, Ace Frehley, Lita Ford, Slaughter, but they also book a ton of bands local to our area as well as regional artists. If you're anywhere in America and you've got a band, look them up on Facebook and send your I can't even speak, EPK in. Send your EPK in to DB Concerts.
Definitely worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, Jason knows he played there last year.
I sure did. They treat you right, and it's a great opportunity.
Yeah. Look that up, and if you need more info and you can't find it for some reason, just hit us up, thethunderunderground@gmail.com, or of course on Facebook. All right, before we get into some other stuff, let's play some music. We're going to play a band right now called Hysteria, and this song is called Graveyard. Graveyard, a brand new track from Hysteria off their brand new album called Night Closing In. This album just came out last week, Halloween week. This band features 2 members from the band Hellfire and 2 members from the band Haunt.
you know you're going to get something amazing when those two bands come together.
Yeah.
And if you haven't looked up either of those bands, fucking do it right now. We'll wait till the podcast is over, then go do it.
Right.
I mean, if you like classic metal, if you love thrash, new wave of British heavy metal, this stuff is right up your alley. But it's new and fresh, too.
Yeah. And Hysteria, as you just heard with Graveyard, I mean, this is steeped in the new wave of British heavy metal.
I mean, it's fucking perfection.
Yeah. Yeah, these guys are great. This album's great. So look it up. Give them a follow on Facebook. And Facebook, I believe it's at Hysteria Heavy Metal, in case you pull it up and it sends you to like a Def Leppard fan page or something at first. You know what to actually type in to find it.
That's right. That's right. And, you know, speaking of bands that in this ilk, did you see where our good buddies in Night Demon have recorded at Sweet Silent Studios with Fleming Rasmussen?
I saw that when you sent that last night. That's the first time I heard about it.
Well, I saw even more pictures. They posted more pictures today.
Okay.
I don't know what they're doing, but that's fucking cool.
They're just saying they're recording with them?
Yeah, they're not saying like what it's for or what it is,
if
or
it's like
how many
one song, or if
or
it's
what,
an EP or an album or whatever.
But they're doing something, and for those of you that don't know, Fleming Rasmussen produced Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All from Metallica at that studio. So that's huge.
Yeah. The greatest heavy metal album of all time, Master of Puppets, in my opinion.
There you go.
And other people would argue Ride the Lightning, and some people would just argue 3 of the greatest metal albums ever from one band.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So yeah, Night Demon, that's just another one. If you're not even familiar with that, look him up. If you like what you just heard from Graveyard.
Yeah.
From that song Graveyard, from Hysteria.
Speaking of bands like this, here you go.
Yeah. Hellfire also is on tour.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
With Death Angel. And they're coming, at least to our area. They're playing December 14th at the Shrine in Tulsa, and December 13th in Enid.
Okay.
At the 1927 Event Center.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it actually moved from where it was, I think, recently.
Yeah.
So anyway, Enid Friday night, Tulsa December 14th, which is a Saturday night. You can see Death Angel with Hellfire, who of course is half that band you just heard, Hysteria. We've also got some great Oklahoma representation on that from Archon and Severmind. So yeah, that's definitely one to look forward to. We're only a little over, 5 weeks out from that?
Yeah, it's going to be a great show.
Well, is there anything relevant to news that we should talk about before we jump into this Kenny Hickey stuff?
It seems like there was, but I don't know.
There always is. We're bad about not writing stuff down.
Yeah, we just kind of turn on, we just hit record and go.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nothing. I mean, there's a million places we could go right now, but I don't know if you want to. I mean, because I don't know how long this episode will be. You could talk about the Black Crow shit that you're seeing popping up. You could talk about how Kiss approached all the living members that have ever been in Kiss about that last concert. But, why would we want to talk about that? I mean, there's, or the Motley Crue rumors, and I don't know. It's just, it's vast. We could go on and on.
Yeah.
And I don't really know if we want to.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about the Black Crowes thing until I know who else is in this.
I get that. That.
It's not going to be Steve Gorman, so already,
mm-hmm.
most diehard fans are going to be butthurt about that. But,
yeah.
There's a few ways they could go to, I think, salvage that with some people. But anyway, once that happens, then we can discuss that, I think. But
yeah,
I'm curious.
It's just in the cryptic stage. There's just billboards all over the country that just have that old school logo with the 2 crows.
Right.
And it says nothing. It just has that. I've seen it. Have you seen it yet?
I haven't.
I've seen it.
We know there's at least 2 in the Tulsa area.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we all know it's coming. It's just going to be the brothers with a bunch of hired guns.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, random side note, listen to Steve Gorman on the Dean Del Rey podcast.
Oh, man.
It's fantastic.
It's podcast gold is what that is.
Yeah. I'm curious to know, are you more excited about My Chemical Romance or Rage Against the Machine?
Well, I could give you a comedic answer, or I could just be a smart ass and be like, fuck you, whatever. But I mean, let's be honest, I'm way more excited about Rage Against the Machine. But that excitement in itself isn't very much. So
Right.
I was never a big Rage guy. I mean, I don't know. I like them. I think what they did was cool and important in a way.
Right.
And, you know, I really enjoyed their last couple of records, the cover record and their last record. But on a whole, you know, if there's rapping, I check out pretty quick. So it was just not a big deal to me. I never seen them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I always had a love-hate with
care.
them. You know, it was kind of like, I used to always say I hate them, but there's several songs I like. And, you know, it's like, it was kind of like the same thing with Tool. You know, I really like the music. I just never liked the vocalist. And
I get that.
And then when Rage Against the Machine got Chris Cornell and started Audioslave, I'm like, see, this is fucking great music.
Yes,
with a great singer. And I know it's nothing like Rage at all, but still, I loved it.
Yes, that's a great example what you bring up. And yeah, you know, like I said, I never really cared. And then I heard their cover album and I just really thought that was cool. And Battle for Los Angeles, I don't know why that grabbed me, but I think it was maybe the Sonics, you know, the sound of it or something. I don't know, but
yeah,
I listened the shit out of that. So I don't know, but you know what I am excited for? Friday, my new Agnostic Front cassette shows up.
Is that when the album comes out?
Yes.
Okay.
And I pre-ordered it like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
On red cassette, like 1 of 100.
There's only 100 of them?
They only did like 100 or 200 of them, and I
Wow.
pre-ordered that son of a bitch. And it's going to show up Friday, and I'm going to be happy. So that's what I'm happy about.
That's pretty awesome. I've heard, what have they released? 2 songs?
2
3
songs.
Yeah.
2 songs so far, and they're pretty fucking good.
I mean, they're one of those bands where you know what you're going to get,
Mm-hmm.
and it's good.
Oh, yeah.
If you like them, you like them. If you don't, you don't. So,
Exactly.
but yeah, that's something cool to look forward to. Speaking of pre-orders, I got the Pride and Glory package they put out.
Nice. I kept meaning to
with
do
the
that.
vinyl, the double vinyl, and the, you know, t-shirt.
Yeah.
It has like a download card with extra stuff. All the extra stuff is stuff that's been out forever.
Yeah, like the
You know?
hammer and the nail that you had to like go on LimeWire and get and shit.
Yeah. Right. And then the other covers like Come Together and My Time of Dying.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like I pre-ordered it and then that thing came out the week before last, I think, and I just got it like 4 days ago. Or
Really?
something.
Well, hey, at least you got it.
Right. It's not like not something I couldn't listen to for the last 25 years anyway, but you know.
Did you get the picture vinyl or?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yep.
Right on.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And it's in like, was it yesterday? I listened to the first 6 Black Sabbath records in a row at work.
Did you really?
Yeah, because the Agnostic Front reminded me. Remember that day a few weeks ago where I was like, I listened to all their records in one shift at work today.
Right.
So there you go.
And was it what's the Henry Rollins quote?
Oh yeah, it is. You can only trust yourself in the first 6 Black Sabbath records.
There you go.
And
So
I did
yesterday
it.
you did that.
It. Yep.
Right. Well, speaking of Black Sabbath, they once had their namesake song, the song Black Sabbath, covered by a band called Typo Negative. How do you like that segue? I
I love it. And we have Kenny Hickey from Typo Negative
Right.
on the podcast today talking about his new band Silvertomb.
That's right.
Which released a record recently, and it's really fucking great. Fans of Typo will love it. Even if you didn't like Typo and you like more just, you know, your conventional metal or hard rock, you're going to love it. This is great stuff.
Yeah. Edge of Existence just came out last Friday. When we did the interview, it was actually just a couple days before, so we hadn't heard everything. We'd heard like 3 or 4 songs, but
Yeah.
this is, it's a cool album. You know, there's great stuff on here that we hadn't heard, like Not Your Savior and So True. And this album, I dig it because it's got a lot of that Typo element, you know, that kind of gothy metal element on some of those songs, but it doesn't really technically sound like Typo.
Exactly.
Because I was trying to listen to it and picture, could you hear Peter Steele singing on this? And I can't.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could hear, this sounds more like Paradise Lost or one of those kind of bands than it did really Typo. And I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it could have been the keyboard style. It was totally different than
I get
Josh
that.
Silver's keyboard style. And
Go ahead.
oh no, I was just going to say the other thing was Kenny Hickey's vocals on this, like really,
That's where I was going, yeah.
they just really, I don't know what they're abrasive and they kind of, I'll use the term you use a lot sometimes and say they just sort of like really cut through.
I see.
Like more so than you imagine. Like when you think his vocals on Typo albums, it's not that way at all. And I mean, it's not that way this whole album either. You have songs like Waiting.
Well, my thing was kind of like where you went. You know, I know his voice because he would always sing a little bit in Typo.
Yeah.
And, you know, that voice is there on this record, but he also goes into different places. And, you know, and that's what you want to do. You want to grow as an artist.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. And to be able to talk about that and even a little bit at the end, talk a little bit about Typo.
Yeah.
You know, is great. I mean, like Jason said at the beginning, we loved this band since the early mid-90s and have got the chance, thankfully, to see him several times. And
oh man,
you know,
I got to meet Peter Steele.
Yeah, we did at that Motley Crue show.
And I met Johnny Kelly at Kane's Barn.
Same here. I've got a ticket still signed by him.
By God. And you know, at the end when he kind of goes into some Typo, the sound gets a little sketchy. We apologize.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're gonna work your magic, but I don't know how
much of it we got, but we'll see.
But at the same time, having Kenny Hickey on the show was a dream come true.
Right.
And a complete honor.
Yeah. I mean, that's happened other times with people on their cell phones anyway. I mean, I've got this band tattooed on me. That's how much I love this fucking band.
Goddamn right.
And you mentioned Johnny Kelly. We didn't even mention he's also in Silvertomb.
Yes.
So if you know, basically if you knew Seventh Void, the final lineup of Seventh Void, it's basically from the ashes arose this band. It's the same lineup with adding a keyboardist as well.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, if you're a fan of just metal in any genre, I think you need to check Silvertomb out. So, yeah, let's get into it. Here's Kenny Hickey of Silvertomb.
Once you're unexpected, it goes a lot of different directions. There's a lot of different musical influences and styles in it. But at the core, you can expect some authentic, emotional feeling in it, in most of it.
And on Waiting, did you want to kind of just do a straight up rock song, or did it just come out that way and you just kind of went with it?
Both. Yeah. Very good analysis. I mean, that was written after writing all hours and hours of all this really heavy riffs, dark, heavy subjects, and you know, key changes, and you know, timing signature changes, and trying to work out stuff. And that just came out at 3:00 in the morning as like sort of a purge. The song was written in literally 15 minutes.
Wow.
So, you know, I had converted my wife's walk-in closet to a studio in my house.
Yeah.
Basically just trapped myself down there 8-9 hours a day and go all night working on this stuff. And that was one of the songs that just, you know, just popped out of me in 15 minutes. And I think it's very real, and it definitely captures a moment in time in the writing process that counterpointed everything else that we were doing, and thought it would be a perfect way to end the record.
Sometimes when they just come out so quick like that, those are the best ones, it seems.
Yeah, sometimes. And then sometimes 3 days later you say, what the hell was I thinking?
Well, there was always talk of another Seventh Void album, or any of these songs that were left over from that, or are these all fresh songs that you guys wrote once Silvertomb came to be?
Well, the only song that was actually directly written for Seventh Void was "Love You Without No Lies." That was when I first went back and decided to start playing music again. Reformed the band. I brought Joe James into the band. Henry brought him in, actually. Great guitar player. And it was like, all right, let's take up from where we left off, and that's how Love You Without No Lies came out. And yeah, we wrote a few more songs after that, including One of You. And the other songs didn't make this record. But the real changing event was writing Rite of Passage, where during the chorus, kind of heard all this orchestration, keyboards, string sections, and all this stuff coming in. And I was like, well, we don't even have a keyboard player. I'm going to pull this off. And we just sort of said, well, screw it. Let's just go with it and see where it goes. And during the pre-production, and it came out really powerful. So at that point, it was like, well, now we need a keyboard player. Not only a keyboard player, but somebody who can actually sing in this band, because all the other guys sound like a bunch of drunken bums with their teeth busted out. And that's how we ended up bringing Aaron Juice in, who's a really great musician, smart guy, lovely guy. And he had the capability as far as pulling off the tracks with the keyboard, switching to guitar when we need him to, because he still even switches to guitar at some points. I mean, there's never any one point in the live set, or even, when we were recording with his 3 guitars going, it was more of a switch on and off thing when we need him to. And also he can, hold a tune pretty well. And that's how Juice came into the band. And then from there on, it started becoming an evolution further than just a straight up rock band, It became more complex as far as structurally, arrangement-wise. We had interludes with sound effects and all this crazy stuff going on. So it sort of became its own animal after that, beyond Sevenfold, and that really how the band was born. And I figured, let's just change the name, change everything, move on as a different entity, and then maybe we can evolve with this separate from everything we did in the past.
That's pretty bold. Like you said, the evolution and the new entity to just scrap it and new name and everything. I dig that.
You know what? I think? What I really feel about the whole subject matter is that even with this band, so like the next record is almost totally written, and it's a complete evolution from this one. It's almost nothing like it.
Wow.
I mean, it is. It's got its roots and base in it and stuff. It's still dark, it's still all that. But it's become musically more textural, and now we find ourselves writing from a piano or from a string section first rather than a guitar riff, because now we're not bringing these tones into the band and trying to retrofit them to some of the stuff. Now it's actually being written off of it. So it's reached another evolutionary stage. And I believe that what I would like to do is take the band to its apex as far as, evolve it until this reaches maximum. And, once you start repeating the same tricks over and over again and start to run over the same old ground, it's time to put it to bed. Start a new band.
When you brought in the keyboards into these songs you'd already written, did you let him just add what he felt necessary, or did you kind of direct him into what you were thinking it should be at that point?
We worked it out together, like with some of the past stuff, what happened was, by the time we got to Rite of Passage, I had like pretty set in stone ideas for that, for as far as the orchestration stuff. But then we had to make the 3 previous songs kind of match that, so we kind of retrofitted that stuff. And we just sat in my garage, got a 6-pack, sat in my garage and said, well, what can we do here? What can we do here? And then with the other stuff, as the album furthered, to songs like So True and Insomnia and all that stuff, he added his own take on it and his own. Everybody does. That's what it is. I might come up with a core song. It might be 4 chords, playing on my acoustic in the garage, and bring it down to the guys. So, most of the time, I'll do some pre-production in my studio, And then once I bring it to them, it turns into a whole different animal. Everybody puts their touch on it, and then they make me think of things that I wouldn't have thought of otherwise. I mean, that's why I don't believe any musician should ever be sitting alone in his wife's walk-in closet or in the garage making music. It's a matter of, it's a connection thing. Music is a connective device, and whether it's with other musicians, which is the most important context of it, or it's with an audience, I mean, that's when it really comes alive. That's when it really becomes a living, breathing thing. So, some guy alone with his guitar in the studio is just making the cut for me.
We'll talk about how do you and Joseph James complement each other on guitar?
Oh, that's been an amazing experience, man. Look, listen, I have certain strengths in guitar where, I have a good voicing capabilities where I can make a lead like you can remember it, But like Joe has just got this, he's way more talented than me. I mean, he's got these explosive riffs, and he has that the natural inborn talent of music, and he's just like, what I'll do is like with Rite of Passage and Crossing Over, I had some lead ideas for Crossing Over, right? Which basically when I did them, I mean, they went somewhere, they had good melodies and they had they started a place, meandered around and resolved right, but it all sounded like Gilmour, exactly like David Gilmour, And so when I gave it to Joe, he took it and made his own, man. And he made this explosive friggin', we call them our mountaintop leads. That's his big mountaintop lead on the record, Crossing Over, Mine is a eulogy, which is more like sad and like minor scale, sad and expressive. But he's, I think we strengthen each other, like coming face to face, having a lead out together and answer off one-on-one, like with Love You Without No Lies, which is a really strange song because it's a 7/8 timing. It's not 4/4. Yeah. So it's an odd timing, And so the first lead is him, and then the second lead is me answering it. And I remember going into it, I was like, so you're ready to jam out and lead out in 7/8 timing? And Joe was like, born ready.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an incredible musician. He's really the glue. He's like probably the strongest musical glue in the band, like keeping us together live when we play, But also he's got a great imagination. Like the artwork for the cover of the record was born out of me and him, like exchanging ideas. And just great musician. So, like, I really feel like he's a long lost brother, man, that, I've been going through life and I just haven't bumped into until I hit my 50 years old mark.
Well, the artwork, that was a question we had kind of. I like the colorfulness of it, even though it's kind of the sound's kind of dark. I like that kind of push and pull there.
Well, the idea of the cover was, like, Joe was like, I don't know, there's like the super 70s vibe to the stuff, so why don't we do something that's kind of like 70s poster art? And then I went with that. I was like, yeah, that's right up my alley, because, like, when I was growing up, I was hanging out at my friend Tommy Fitz's house. We used to cut out from school. And his garage behind his house, he had this, like, pothead dude that he knew that used to store his Sabaret hot dog wagon in there. And we just plastered the place with black light posters in the 70s. And we used to go in there and smoke pot all day and, like, crank Black Sabbath, So I really wanted, like, the cover to capture that, Being 16 years old, cutting out from school, smoking pot in the Sabaret wagon, and bugging out to the black light posters, So that's really what we were going for.
Yeah.
And then Joe has an artist friend. His name is Rodrigo Canteras. That's his name. He was a tattoo artist. He's the guy who drew the Christ figure in the middle. And so And Joe was like, well, all right, so that's this artist. He wants to know what you want to do with the middle of the record, with the center of the piece. And I said, well, I want to base it on the famous images of the ascension of Christ. The ascension of Christ, where he's rising up to heaven with the apostles beneath him. He says, I want apostles beneath him. We're going to go for a sci-fi blacklight poster art. 70s theme, That's why we have Mars below us and his Venus and all these planets around us. And Christ is rising up, and that's how it was born. Actually, the idea of it all. And actually, Rodrigo texted me. He's like, "Well, how do you want, Christ pose? There's a lot of different poses when you get to at all the centuries of art on the ascension of Christ." And I was like, well, I had my wife take a picture of me, and I stood in the middle of my room in my robe. And he actually just took my proportions and drew the skeleton over me. So that's how it ended up being the way it is.
Nice.
And I think it came out great. And then after that, Hank Kell, he's got an art degree. He went to art college and stuff. So he's basically an art director. So we just showed up to his office, and we're like, all right, so these are the ideas we have. We had the image that the tattoo artist drew. He superimposed that. He brought all the colors together and all that stuff that you see. Brought the images and all the elements together, the shooting star and all that stuff. And we just sat there and shot, we shot the shit and we worked it out. I think that needs something right there. All right, put a comment there. And Henry would find a comment, an image of a comment, change it up enough to where we couldn't get, sued for it, and, put it all together. So it was really a group effort between me, Joe, and Hank.
In Typo, you sang a little bit, but, with Seventh Void and Silvertomb, how do you find yourself in the frontman role? Is it a big adjustment?
It was in the beginning. It's not anymore, man. I mean, The thing is that the reason I do this, I think, more than anything else, the reason I've done this up until this point, more than anything else, is because, number one, I'm an adrenaline junkie, and number two, there's nothing I love more than live performance. And that's what I always really enjoyed. Which, in Typo, it was the opposite with Peter and Josh. They hated it. They loved being in the studio, geeking out, I want to put another interval over this, and blah, 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 blah. Everything else they hated, Me, I love playing live, I love the energy, the immediate energy when it's going well, of course. Of course, when it's going bad, it's the exact opposite. But the energy you get, that connection off of the audience and the people, that's what I love, and that's what I look to do. So I found it very natural once I was, it takes me a couple of beers. I have a couple of beers before I go on. Yeah, I'm shitting my pants just like anybody will do. And then once I go on and it's going well, and, it's just, I feel completely at home and natural in a situation of talking to an audience and performing, obviously. I can always perform with a guitar in front of me. And singing, and especially even between the songs, just addressing an audience like if I was, you hanging out in my garage having a beer with me, just talking to me. And I think I enjoy it, but also I think I've also had the grace to have shared the stage with some of the greatest frontmen that were ever born, including Pete Seal,
yes,
Jamie Josta, Phil Anselmo. And the list goes on, I did the first Black Sabbath reunion, with Ozzy and stuff, and, so night after night, Marilyn Manson, I hung out on stage, watched these guys, so I think that the main key to being whatever, a singer, front man, is to be relaxed, and in Phil Anselmo's words, it's like being a boxer. It's the art of it is knowing how to turn a bad situation into something good.
Well, when you're
and believe me, every night is a bad situation that you have to turn into something good. It's just a different town, It's a different town. It's a different placement. It's a bad phone call home. It's a horrible hotel. It's a shitty shower. It's, wiping your ass while reading Facebook in a shitty bar in like whatever, Des Moines, Iowa on a Monday night. Every night is a challenge to turn a bad situation into something magical. And when it happens, it is magic.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to let all that go and just put on the best show you can.
Yeah, you just got to loosen up, man. You just got to let it flow, let it go. And then sometimes it doesn't happen, man,
Yeah.
And you're going to beat yourself up until the next show until you can make it make it different, make it, turn it around. Always trying to turn it around, man. You know what? I spent my whole life trying to turn things around.
Well, when you're writing lyrics, do you wait till you have music, or are you always writing words as well?
It's a good question because, I think that if you're going to write, whatever it is, actually music. Let's talk specifically music. There's so many different angles to write music. You look at Elton John, and he wrote most of his greatest songs through the lyrics that somebody else wrote. And that's one way to do it, which I've never done. I've never even tried. I never came up ever with a lyric and then came up with the music to it. Usually what happens is come up with a riff or a melody idea or something I wanted to say. You know what I mean? Not down cold stone, something I wanted to say in black and white, but like something I felt that I wanted to get out. Most of the time it starts with a lyric. Most of the time it starts with a riff or a melody. And then I have to force through syllables what I want to say into the music, which is very confining. Very confining. I also write poetry sometimes just to get rid of that frustration of that feeling where I can just freely write, anything I want to say, So it's very hard to have something specific you want to say and want to express, and now you're trapped in this syllable cage with timing and all this stuff, and you got to make, and then rhyming on top of it. You got to rhyme. Oh my God, you didn't rhyme those lyrics. You got to do that as well, right? So now you got to you hit these walls where I want to say this, but I can't find anything to rhyme with time, and then you got to look up words that rhyme with time, it's a process, So I would like to, maybe you've inspired me, try to just write lyrics and see what comes to me musically. And then I'll end up, I know what's going to happen, I'll end up stuffing 18 syllables in a place they don't belong,
You have to get out the thesaurus.
Yeah, but I think though, writing from every different angle you can. Paul McCartney always sends me for a friggin' loop, man. The guy's the most amazing musician that ever lived. He's got 6 different instruments to choose from to start a song from. Oh, let me start writing from piano.
Yeah.
Let me start writing from this. I got 3. Well, 2, guitar and a little bit of piano. That's it. That's what I got. So I think that if you could make your music more diverse, the more platforms you have to write from. So whatever instruments they are, be it, piano, violin, guitar, or just writing from lyrics, writing from poetry. So I think it's a good challenge for anybody to do. And I think I'm going to start doing that, just starting to write some lyrical ideas, with a beat to them, and maybe it'll spur some kind of riff or melody from that point on. But I have not tried that yet. Thus far, I've always written from my instrument or my imagination. Coming home from the bus, coming home from the bus late night and having a few beers, and I hear something humming in my head, And then I gotta find music to match it, or vice versa. I come home, sit around with the guitar, I have chord progression, I have something, and then trying to find a melody, match that, and finding that, and then having to force lyrics into it. Usually, sometimes it all comes together and it all feels natural.
Well, don't blame us if it doesn't work out.
I've had a lot of shit that didn't work out, man. I have a whole computer I'm going to destroy. I am going to purposely destroy and set on fire in fear that it might get out into the world someday. Songs that I don't want to get out into the world. Yeah, that sounds like a good title for a record, actually.
There you go.
Well, you mentioned that second album's already done here before the first one's even released. Like, how long do you guys plan to hold on to that? Are you going to like wait another year or two, or?
You know what? I don't. I mean, time periods have gotten shorter and shorter in this, in this society now.
Yeah.
Especially with like all the streaming and stuff like that. People releasing EPs. They're not releasing EPs because they're not getting paid well. They're releasing EPs because they don't release a whole album because they want to spread the album out over years because they don't want to lose monthly listeners. And I guess that's what it's all about now. Getting that into your head, I believe, fucks up your creative process. I think that it screws it up in that now you start feeling that you got to throw shit out there and it might be like half-baked just because you got to stay current or stay in everybody's ears, But I do feel that pressure on me still. But fortunately, the next record is just about written. I got like 28. We have 28 minutes of music, and it's amazing. I think it's great. It's the best stuff ever that we've ever come up with, and it's a natural progression of what we started with, Edge of Existence. And I would really like to, because before the spring, I have like 2 months down, January, February, I'd like to get in the studio. You know what I'm going to do? I already spoke to Johnny Kelly about it. I think I'm going to fly to Texas because she's living in Texas now. So he's not like around the block from me. I'm still in New York. With this stuff, I would just drag him to my garage. He'd bring an electronic kit. We'd work out the rhythm section. Because the only thing I can't work out is rhythm, I mean, I have it in my head, but like, I'm not a drummer at any level, So like, really what sends it home is when me and Johnny finally get together and start working out the rhythm section for everything that's being plotted out, as far as for the pre-production. So I think what I'm going to do in January is I'm going to buy a cheap ticket to Dallas, where he's living now, close to Dallas, and hash out the rhythm section and stuff with him, and at least have that. When we have the rhythm section, we have everything, we know what we want to do, and then we can get a date, maybe after the spring tour, to go into the studio and actually bang out basic tracks. And then, of course, after that, there's vocals and everything else. And I would like to have the next record out before 2021, I would like to have it before. Would like to have it in 2020, maybe the end of the year.
Was this spring tour, is it going to be like a headline thing, or are you guys opening for someone?
I can't even say right now because all of it's not confirmed yet, but it's going to be all of North America, Canada, and the States. And after that, I don't know what's going to come up after that. I mean, I'm saying I have all these hopes and dreams for getting in the studio, but if it goes well, we're going to be asked to do other stuff. And, I'm going to try to get everything done whenever I can. I just bought, a whole Pro Tools rig. So a lot of the stuff now, I'm hoping a lot of the pre-production stuff that I do now in my house, like as far as vocals go, and as far as like acoustic guitar sounds or electric sounds, lead breaks, can carry over into the record so that when I'm coming up with it here alone in my house, it's not just, hours and hours of work that get thrown into the friggin' dust when we re-record everything. I'm hoping that now that I have a professional recording rig, that some of the stuff can carry over and it'll shorten the process, when we finally get to the album. Because this album, too, is even more complex than Edge of Existence. So there's a lot of elements involved. There's a lot of dynamics, more different instruments, so it's going to be a process, and I hope that whatever I develop here and now while I'm alone, and Johnny's in Texas or touring with this band or that band, and these guys are doing that, and these guys are doing that, that I can save what I'm recording, and it's going to be, album quality recordings. So hopefully that'll shorten the process. I want to do something to try to shorten the process.
Well, you mentioned stuff not getting out there, or music not getting out there you didn't want people to hear. Is there any typo music that was never released, or is everything out there now?
No, there isn't, man. I mean, the typo was a funny animal, The typo, let's see, what was it, 70 minutes max on the CD? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We always filled every single CD. So you have more than enough music to fill the CD. So we almost always put everything we were doing, everything we were working on, ended up being recorded and printed. And there's one thing about Peter with his process, which always admires to the end of time, is Peter had no fear. Like, he was like, he would come up with songs, like, Wolf Moon or this or that, and if I said to him, Peter, I think you could write better lyrics than this. And his answer to it was, he'd make me sing them. If I didn't like it, I had to sing it. So Peter, it was for him, whatever came out of him, and that's what was going to be done. And there was no second guessing. Very rare in an artist. He really created freely and without fear. Most artists, you come up with an idea, and then you second guess it. 3 days later, you hate it, then you have to change it, try to change the key, the interval, the lyrics, blah, 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 blah. That's what most artists go through, But Peter's just like, this is what it is. If you don't like it, fuck yourself. So, that's why basically, typo, we don't have any of that stuff. There's nothing left over. It all always got to put out there, It's very, I don't think there's anything. And if anyone had it would be Josh. I know he doesn't have it.
Man, we appreciate you taking the time out to do this with us.
Thank you. All right, thanks, buddy.
There you go, Kenny Hickey. Huge thank you to John Freeman of Freeman Promotions. And, of course, a huge thank you to Kenny Hickey for taking some time out that night to talk to us. Silvertomb, you heard a lot about it there. Check out the album Edge of Existence. It's been out now for less than a week. You got to get your hands on it. Great stuff. And, of course, if you never checked out Seventh Void, or God forbid if you never checked out Typo Negative.
Oh, my God. I don't know what you're doing. You got to go do that.
I assume you're listening to this. You have. But, just it doesn't matter where you start, at beginning, middle, or end with Typo.
It's all deadly.
Yeah. Man, I love Dead Again, the final album, because I thought it was I thought it was an amazing way to end.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't know that was the end at the time, but it was like so comprehensive. The sound, all the sounds on that album, they kind of covered every era that band had ever went through.
They did. Yeah, that was a good one.
So, yeah. So if you're not familiar with the final Typo album, Dead Again, just start there.
Yeah. And you see what's happening here. We could go on and on about this band.
I know.
It's fucking nerdy as shit.
Well, here's the thing.
I love it.
We've talked about this before, that we were going to do an episode and get maybe JP.
Yes, because he was a huge Typo fan too.
Yeah. And
we should still fucking do it.
Right. A couple years ago, it's been at least a couple years ago now, we had on Lola Henderson.
Yeah. And that's another, she's a big,
Yeah, she was in the band Redneck Nosferatu at the time, and she's a massive fan. And we didn't go into huge detail, but we talked for probably 5 or 10 minutes, I think, in that episode about Typo. So it comes up quite often here on this podcast.
Just one hell of a band, man.
Yeah. So, yeah. Very cool to have Kenny Hickey here. And if you're listening to this for the first time because you're a Kenny Hickey fan, some other bands from that 90s New York metal scene, Prong.
Life of Agony.
Yeah, Life of Agony just here recently.
Yeah.
Just 2 or 3 weeks ago. We had on Alan Robert. Like I said, Prong, we had on Tommy Victor at one point. I'm sure if you like that kind of stuff, you also like COC. We've had on 2 members of COC. We've had on a couple members of Superjoint. We've had on Jimmy Bauer from Superjoint and I Hate God. We've had on guys from Megadeth, guys from Kiss is from New York City.
You damn right.
Yeah. Gene Simmons has been on this podcast, as has Bruce Kulick.
That's right.
Who recently played on the Kiss Cruise and apparently stole the show, as you would expect.
I guess so.
I read all these set lists. Like, he played like 2 or 3 different sets, and the set lists were amazing. Like, he did like medleys of every album that he was a part of, and then he did like full songs that, like, of course, they never play and shit. It was amazing.
And Bob Kulick wasn't there, and he's super pissed.
Right? But yeah, all that stuff. We've had on a lot of stuff from the 80s rock scene, like Tesla, Dokken, Warrant, Lillian Axe, Europe, all that kind of stuff as well. We've had on everyone from Shooter Jennings to Seven Dust. So just dig back through there, soundcloud.com/Thunder-Underground. You can find us on iTunes, Google Music, Stitcher, TuneIn, Mixcloud, all that stuff. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're on YouTube at The Thunder Underground. Subscribe there. We've had a lot of videos where we'll review albums coming out, singles, concerts, all that kind of stuff. Should have more of those hopefully coming here in the near future. But yeah, we've got an episode coming up here pretty soon with the singer of a band called Roxanne, who had one album in the late 80s with a couple songs that had moderate success there in that 80s rock scene, but they came back this past year with a brand new album, and they're working on a third one now, here after all these years, and it's great, just great classic rock sounding music, so look up Roxanne and be on the lookout for that one. We've also got a couple other things here in the works, but yeah, I think that covers it, and I can't believe I did this without opening with a pun, because I was like trying on the drive here to do this. I was trying to think of like an opening pun that had to do with like typo negative, but I couldn't think of one that was good enough. So I just let it go.
You know, it's not always about puns and being funny, Trent.
I know.
Sometimes you just got to let the music do the talking.
That's right.
You know, I mean, it's just, I don't know. That's just me. That's just a word to the wise. I don't do it every week. To be giving a word to the wises, but anyways, I don't know.
We used to do it all the time, but I haven't done it in a long time, so that's why I thought maybe it was time.
Well, I don't know. I'm punless right now, or I would help.
Same here.
All right, then.
You know, as soon as I like drive off, I'm going to think of like
You'll
3 amazing ones.
Well, you can add them in later. That's fine with me.
Just like record it on my own and like throw it in there?
Sure. Just anywhere.
Okay.
Or you can do it right here.
Right. All right, well. Nope, nothing came to mind, so. All right, well, a huge thank you again to Kenny Hickey, to Freeman Promotions, to DB Concerts, to Med Farm. Check out Hysteria, and we will talk to you soon. Until next time.
Thunder Underground, y'all.